10,000 foot view with enough perspective, zooming way out. What do you want your life to look like? Really high level, passion, purpose, balance, and poise. Okay, from there, we zoom in a little bit. From a 1,000 foot view, you're not in an airplane, you're not at the top of the mountain, you're now moving down closer. From there, what's the things that are important to you? What are those? Well, to me, it's live, love, lead, and learn. Now we zoom in more, and now we're at the 100-foot level, so we can see things on the ground. Cool. What are the principles? Well, I'm going to go to the gym 5 or 6 days a week. Great. Now on the ground, doing the groundwork, persevere. Now actually do it. Take the steps. You're on the ground. Walk. Do the thing. That's how we do this.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Chasing Excellence. My name is Patrick Cummings. As always, I'm here with Ben Bergeron. Every week on the show, we dedicate some time to exploring how we can live a life of better health and increased fulfillment. We answer your questions about the 5 factors of health, dive deep on living a life of excellence, and explore the strategies and frameworks to help us chase what truly matters. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you, Ben?
Doing great, Patrick. Thanks. Excited for this.
I am excited as well. We've got listener questions about learning how to move better when you train on your own, best practices to recover from rugby training, and dealing with rep shavers in your gym. Our workout this week will be a review of one of our original frameworks. This week, we're going to be revisiting the 5 Ps of decision making, something that, Ben, we first discussed in 2019, which was basically forever ago at this point. And then
until you hear it doesn't sound like that though. 2019, I'm like, oh, I don't know. A year or two ago.
And then you remember we just entered 2024 somehow.
You know what I heard was crazy is you're a way to feel really old. The mom in Home Alone was 37 years old.
I think I saw that too around Christmas.
Yeah. Because when I watched that, she was like an old lady, when you first watched that the first time. And you're like, oh my God, I'm 10 years older than her.
Yeah, this isn't the same thing, but I've had a thought that at some point in life, you grow up watching sports and everybody's older than you in professional sports. And then at some point you kind of stop thinking about it. Then you start thinking about it and you realize everybo's younger than you. When did that happen?
And
when
then they become
when am
your
I no
kids'
longer
ages.
eligible to be a professional athlete?
I could be their dad. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to close this episode out with a quick round of Hopper talk that I don't think will have anything to do with how old we are. Before we jump into the episode, we talked about it a little bit last week. Wanted to remind folks, or maybe tell them for the first time, we are offering something new I'm very excited about. We're offering a premium membership. If you go to www.chasingexcellence.email, not only can you sign up for the free newsletter that we send out every week, but you can also now join us for a deeper dive into this chase of excellence, which isn't a phrase, but it's the chase of excellence now. And so a couple of things you'll be able to get when you get there, or when you subscribe, you'll get ad-free episodes every single week. We'll email them to you, as well as lots of cool ideas that we are working on, things like book clubs, things like deeper dives on some of these conversations that we're having, and a lot more. And quite frankly, what I'm most excited about is for the folks who jump in early, they can help us shape what this premium membership can include. And so I'm excited to ask you folks out there, what else can we do? What else can we all do together to continue chasing excellence in a way that is more than just us showing up in your podcast feed once a week, which of course we love doing and we're honored to do. But one of the things we're really excited about is to get to go even deeper and to have conversations and to build things that are even more valuable to you folks out there. So again, www.chasingexcellence.email. The link is in the show notes. Please consider joining us.
Love it.
All right.
That's
our
exciting.
warm up. We start each episode. What's that?
I said, that's exciting.
That's exciting. I am excited about that. We start each episode with your questions about the 5 factors of health, those few fundamental behaviors that most positively affect our performance, vitality, and longevity. Those 5 factors: how we eat, how we move, how we think, how we connect with each other, and how we recover. We've got 3 questions. We've got questions in the move category, recover, and think categories today. First one, I do not have a name. Apologies for that. But here's the question. For people training on their own, what online courses or in-person courses would be the best to prepare them to take care of their movement quality by themselves? What would be the best approach for that?
Okay, so ways that you can train by yourself to get better at your movement, because obviously the best place to do that would be to have a coach. But if you don't have that opportunity, and you want to invest into an online or an in real life course, my first, and this can be such a cliche, non-exciting answer, would be the CrossFit Level 1. I get it. It seems so foundational. Yes, it's exactly the purpose of it. There are the 9 essential movements. If you master, with virtuosity, doing the common uncommonly well, you will be set up to do almost anything. The reason that those 9 essential movements are what they are is because everything is essentially a derivative of those actual movements.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's a very anticlimactic answer that I think everyone was probably expecting. The next place, I would not necessarily recommend any other additional courses per se, especially in the training space in terms of personal training. They don't go over movement. I've had a half a dozen other training certificates, and you'll get really good at understanding what Golgi tendons are and muscle spindles and the Krebs cycle and what mitochondria does, but you don't learn how to move better, which is bonkers. What does help you move better, maybe it's because I'm a visual learner, but is to watch high quality movement. And this is where I would fill up your social feed with people that you trust that move really well. So start following some Chinese Olympic weightlifting team. Start diving into YouTube videos of their coaches talking about movement, and it's amazing. It's just such an amazing tool that we have access to now that we did not have 20 years ago. Other places that you could go is things like Squat University. He's phenomenal. Follow him. He does really good stuff in terms of movement prep. And he definitely teaches good movement. Or jump onto CompTrain. We do videos every day in our training, helping coach better movement. So a few resources to go to. Whether it's a training platform that coaches you every day, like CompTrain, whether it's social or media like YouTube, or it's a course itself, I would lean into the CrossFit Level 1.
And I know this wasn't the question, but I imagine there's also, because we've talked about it before, there's also a lot of value in filming yourself and reviewing yourself. And maybe to bring it to your thing is like review yourself in comparison to some of the really good movers and start to see like what are the biggest differences here.
Okay. So now if we get into actual like analysis of it, the biggest thing to do is, if we're going to break that down, because if I was to do that and match myself up against Tiger Woods, I wouldn't even know what I'm looking for. Like it doesn't I don't even,
the nuances
aren't obvious enough to me. So what are those nuances? The first thing that we should be looking for is stance and grip, basically your starting position. So it's the easiest thing to look at because we're stagnant. We're not moving. Once the movement starts, it's really challenging. So if somebody told me that with that, go, hey, match up where the way Tiger Woods lines up to the ball with the way you line up to the ball, see how your lead foot is turned out and his is square to the ball. Oh, I get it. Like that's really what I would start with as a beginner, novice, or even intermediate person trying to improve their movement, is start with stance and grip. The next place is the finish. Like, how are you finishing? Okay, Tiger Woods finishes with his shoulders square to the fairway, and you are only opened up 3/4 of the way, and he is his, again, because it's an end position. You can really kind of analyze those two things. The middle, that's where it gets a little more nuanced and more challenging.
Love that. Great. Okay, cool. Next question is in our recover bucket. It's from Matthias. I'm over 40 years old, train rugby twice a week for 2 hours, do CrossFit 2 times a week, and weight train once a week. After games on weekend, I'm sore and tired for 2 to 3 days. How can I improve my recovery to be able to train more between games?
Yeah. Matthias is a badass. I love that.
You played rugby, right?
I did. I played rugby in college. Yeah. I tried to play after college, and it was man, it was brutal. Those guys, the guys are really, they're like big scary men. I say that now, this is the age thing again, right? Because at that time I was 22 and there was these 41-year-old men that were just 260 pounds that just wanted to take their aggression out on you.
We're just angry at their life.
There's bigger people, but at least we're all 19 years old. It's that wasn't as scary for some reason. Okay. The question, how to speed up recovery, really sore 2 to 3 days after. I'm training a couple of days of CrossFit and a day of weightlifting. That's phenomenal. I wouldn't try to necessarily get in more training necessarily, especially with the 2 days of rugby in between. Maybe you could add a moderate day of lifting in there. That's the only suggestion I might give to add more. But if the question really is about how to speed up recovery, it is the other 4 factors. So we have eat, sleep, train, think, and connect. It is those other ones beside training. So I'll just run through them really quickly. How do you speed up recovery? Make sure you are eating really high nutrient dense foods and plenty of calories. If you're on a calorie deficit or you don't have nutrient dense foods, meaning processed foods, you're not going to recover well. So it means eating a lot of really good food. It's not a mystery of that. That's number 1. Number 2 is getting at least 8 hours. For an athlete like you, I would love to see that closer to 9. We also talk about, that is not lights out to lights on. That's of actual sleep. So I would love for you to be lights out to alarm set closer to 10 hours. Whoa, that's a lot. But if you want to know how to move the needle, this is how we do it. The next would be the actual, there is training aspects to this, which is move. During those 2 to 3 days where you're really sore, sit on an air bike and just have it move enough that it's registering some wattage and you're trying to get a very light sweat. Big part of recovery is removing the waste product that has built up throughout the body. And the best way to do that is with blood flow. You want to get the good, clean, oxygenated blood to the space and then allow it to remove all of the waste product that has been developed from the traumas that have taken place during that event. So movement, super key. Don't have an air bike, go for a walk. Don't have the ability to go for a walk for whatever reason, do some really light yoga. Movement. And I would suggest doing this. I mean, there is a lot of high-level professional athletes that start this process right after their game. So after their game, they go to the gym. And they're not trying to increase their strength. They're trying to work on more movement and blood flow. And they start their training on game day. I'm not necessarily advising that. I'm just giving perspective to the way that some of these high-level athletes are doing it. So now we have what to eat, how to sleep, how to move. You can also play with some things that some people find efficacious, some don't. Ice baths. I'm not saying ice not localized. I'm not a fan of localized ice. I'm not saying ice your knees, ice your elbows. I'm saying ice, total body ice exposure, ice baths, and or sauna. People find a lot of benefit from that. I seem to find more from the sauna than I do from the cold. Maybe that's because I'm not as tough as somebody like Matthias. And take the might out. I'm not as tough as Matthias. And then where are we next? Oh, and the next one is lower stress. What is your work environment? What is your home environment? What are your relationships like? If you are in a high stress environment, your body is going to go into the sympathetic nervous system, which is fight or flight. What happens there is the repair mechanisms of the body all but shut off. And this is a real thing. If you are in fight or flight, which means your body is in high stress, your recovery, your immune system, your digestive system are not operating. They're at such a fraction of what they could be. This might be the biggest of all of them. If you had very, very, very low stress and you did any one of these other practices, you would get 100% of the benefit of them. But if you eat awesome, sleep a ton, ice and sauna and do all the movement, but you're in a toxic relationship, you're working 70 hours a week at a high stress job with a lot of pressure, you're probably not going to reap the benefits no matter what you're doing. So speed up recovery, multifaceted. No one thing is a silver bullet. You got to take them all and find what works for you.
Take it. All right. Last question we've got is in our think category. It's from Juan. He says, looking for advice on how to deal with those who are cheating reps on workouts. I don't know why, but it bothers me as I see it every day with the same members in my CrossFit class, and I'm tempted to set things right. This is the reason I pay $165 a month to work out in an affiliate instead of my garage. I'm 150 pounds, 39 years old. Part of the fun in CrossFit is the excitement of back and forth with the bigger guys when you mix things like heavier barbells with bodyweight stuff like box jumps, burpees, rope climbs. It's also why it bothers me, and it takes the excitement out of the race when they cheat reps. Why is it bothering me so much? And any advice on how to snap out of it?
Yeah. Okay. So why? I dig it. Why is it bothering you so much? Because it matters to you. And I get it. Like you're exactly right. Part of the reason that this thing works is intensity. Like people work hard. It's one of the big things. It's not the only reason that this training methodology works, but it is one of them for sure. How do you get people to work hard? One way is to yell at them like a drill sergeant would. Another is a stopwatch and a whiteboard, meaning tell me your time and we'll post your time up there. Everyone shares it. And that is probably the greatest motivating factor. The saying is men will die for points. And believe me, women will too, probably more so. Women might kill for points. So, so that is, I get it. Like the reason you want this is because you know how powerful of a tool the leaderboard is. If the leaderboard fails the integrity test, then what are we doing? I get it. I totally get it. So why does this bother you so much? It's because you know it matters. And if there is not integrity in the leaderboard, you lose that huge, powerful player. So if the second question is to say, what should I do or suggestions?
Yeah. One, why is it bothering me, and any advice on how to snap out of it?
Okay. How to snap out of it? Well, I'll give you more tactful. Is talk to your coaches and ask them, just ask them if it matters to them, not in a sarcastic way and not in a coy way, but in a truly curious way. Is like, does the leaderboard here matter? Because in some gyms it doesn't. And some gyms, they just want these people to be moving, and that's totally fine. But if it does matter, then I would have that conversation of, it seems like, not accusational, but it seems like some of the members don't seem to be doing all of the work. Does it matter for those guys? And does it matter that there's this thing? And have a conversation. If we determine that it matters and it matters for everybody and they're posting scores and there is truly a leaderboard and it lives, then we have to have some really tactful conversations. And this used to be a part of the business seminar that I ran, is how to deal with situations like this. And I believe that the way to approach this, if now from the coach's side, I don't think the members need to do this. And by the way, what doesn't help is you going in the locker room and talking about the other member to other members. We've talked about this and we have a principle. How do you keep from just like spinning a rumor mill and creating toxicity and gossip? I heard that she doesn't do all of her reps and that's it. She's posting her scores. And you see that like, instead, we have two principles for this. The first one is you're allowed to socialize this with a peer. You're allowed to go to another member and say, hey, it seems like Sally isn't doing all of her reps and she's posting these scores on the leaderboard. Do you think this is worth talking to a coach about? That makes total sense. You're allowed to talk to a peer. Here's the big things. Once you talk to that peer, the next person you talk to has to either be Sally, I wouldn't suggest that, or to a person that can move the needle, a decision maker. In the corporate world, this would be a manager or a director. In our gym world, this is a coach or a gym owner. This is so important. After you socialize it with a peer, do not go and talk to another peer and another peer and another peer. That's creating gossip and toxicity. You are not moving towards solutions. You are just creating more drama. And that's the second part. When you go to the coach or you go to your peer, you need to approach them with a solution-oriented mindset, not getting this off your chest, not demeaning the person that's doing it, not trying to tear them down, not trying to go, what's wrong with this gym, but what do you think I should do? Is there a way that should we try to solve this? Is this worth a solution-oriented mindset, peer-to-peer, then to a decision maker? Once you bring that to the coach, then it's the coach's responsibility to either decide whether this is something that they want to address or not. If they decide not to address it, that is the ecosystem, that is the culture, that is the place that you are a part of. And at that point, we either need to learn to let it go, accept the realities of which we're presented. This is the values of this organization. And I'm trying to make this so it's like transferable to other issues beyond this. This is the values of this organization. I'm either going to embrace or I'm going to decide that this isn't in alignment with my own, and I will make a move.
Take it. All right. We're going to wrap it up there. If you would like to get a question into a future episode, the best way to do it is head to www.chasingexcellence.email. Every single Friday, we send out an email with a link to a form that you can submit a question, and it'll get into our queue, and it'll get to the top of our queue. So again, www.chasingexcellence.email. Link is in the show notes. We are going to be back with a conversation about one of our original frameworks, the 5 Ps of decision making, in just a moment. But first, a quick word of thanks from a few sponsors. We're brought to you this week by Notion. Are you looking for a smarter way to stay organized and productive as we enter into this new year? Look no further than Notion. With its powerful features and intuitive interface, Notion is the all-in-one workspace that brings you notes, docs, and projects all together in one place. Go to notion.com/excellence to learn more about the tool that I use more than any other. I run everything through it: 3 podcasts, content for multiple brands, my own company, my task lists, and long-term goals. If it exists in my work life, it exists in Notion. And now Notion has introduced an exciting new feature called Q&A powered by AI. Imagine having your own personal assistant that can instantly answer your questions and provide you with the information you need right in your documents. Whether you're looking for next quarter's roadmap, searching for a marketing campaign proposal, or retrieving a long-lost link, Notion's Q&A has got you covered. No more wasting time searching through endless documents or bothering your colleagues for answers. Just ask Q&A, and it will search through thousands of documents in seconds, delivering clear and concise responses. Doesn't matter how large or complex your workspace is, Q&A can handle it all. Make your work more meaningful and efficient with Notion AI. Try Notion AI for free today by visiting notion.com/excellence. That's notion.com/excellence, where you can experience the power and ease of Notion. We are also brought to you this week by Momentous. Are you struggling to get a good night's sleep? We all know how important sleep is for our health and well-being, but building a reliable nighttime routine can be a challenge. That's where Momentous Sleep comes in. Visit livemomentous.com. Use the code EXCELLENCE to start your new year with 20% off their sleep pack and all of their best-in-class products. Momentous Sleep is a carefully crafted sleep supplement that can help you fall asleep faster, stay asleep longer, and wake up fully recharged. It combines 3 curated ingredients: magnesium, L-threonate, apigenin, and L-theanine. These ingredients work together to deliver calm and quiet to your brain, helping you achieve a more restful state. What sets Momentous Sleep apart is its commitment to quality and safety. It contains no banned substances, no toxic contaminants, and no fillers. They're trusted by top athletes and experts, and their products have been developed in collaboration with leading experts like Dr. Andrew Huberman and Andy Galpin. As such, their products are used by 90% of NFL teams and nearly 200 pro and college locker rooms. Their commitment to research and high performance extends to the U.S. military as well. Visit livemomentous.com. Use the code EXCELLENCE to start your new year with 20% off your sleep pack, and all their best in-class products. That's Live Momentous, momentos.com, and use the code excellence. All right, my friend, our workout today. I've had the idea for a bit. I'm excited to get into it with you. We mentioned it right at the top of every episode. One of the things that you and I have strived to do where we can, where it's been a natural way to do so, is introduce and explore various frameworks that we found helpful in our own lives. And so we've done this podcast since 2016. The framework we're going to talk about today, we first talked about in 2019, but there's a handful of frameworks that I'm really excited to revisit with you over the course of, whatever number of months it's going to take us to kind of, maybe once a month, revisit one of these frameworks to, one, just remind folks of them, two, to have a conversation about how have these changed, if they've changed at all? How might we be updating them, evolving them? How has our experience with them been over the years in which we've sort of introduced and tried to live with them as best we can? And so by frameworks, I just mean things like awareness, intention, and action. 5 factors of health is one. The fulfillment framework, the hierarchy of mindset, what we're going to talk about today, which is the 5 Ps of decision making. So we've got all these frameworks that what we've tended to do is talk about them once, and then wherever they happen to pop up in conversations, we'll mention them. But I'm really excited about kind of refocusing a little bit on them, again, over the course of months as we go here. So we're going to talk about the 5 Ps of decision making. Again, we first had this conversation in November of 2019. And the 5 Ps are the framework we came up with. And here are the 5 Ps. There's purpose, priorities, principles, perspective, and perseverance. So I'm excited to kind of revisit this conversation with you. I want to start in a slightly different spot, though, because as I was thinking about this conversation, something that you've been talking about, I feel like more recently, is this idea of like trusting our gut and really like leaning into our gut, especially in places where like to-do list or a pro-cons list like isn't that helpful. Like we can do it, but it's just not particularly helpful. And so I wanted to contrast this 5 Ps of decision making with the gut response, because they're not in contrast with each other, but they work in tandem with each other kind of nicely. Because what we're not saying, I don't think what you're saying is like always trust your gut and only your gut. Because we've got this framework called the 5 Ps of decision making, which is very much not a gut. I mean, it is gut, of course, but it's a rationalization of how are we feeling? What are we aiming for? What are we trying to accomplish here? And so just to get into this conversation around the 5 Ps of decision making, how do you think about the balance between the intelligent part of our brains, the planning side of our brains, the executive function, which the 5 Ps of decision making live under, and the gut response and the gut decision making?
Yeah, there are 2 different tools for 2 different things. The 5 Ps of decision making is there to help direct your life so your actions line up with your visions and values. That's what this is a tool for, is to make sure that when we get to, we talked about this in the last one, but the average person makes 35,000 decisions a day. If we kind of wind that back, that is 36 minutes or a decision every 2 seconds. Mm-hmm. Every 2 seconds of our waking day, we're making a decision. That's exhausting. And if we are just leaving it up to the way we feel in that moment, we're probably going to have our actions not line up with our long-term vision and values. Okay, so I'm going to come back to that. Whereas the gut thing is there to help steer you when we're talking about the intangibles. When we're talking about, should I, as I'm saying this, I'm reframing this. They can work in concert as well. But the idea is, should I leave my job? Like, yeah, your gut is there and you should listen to your gut as well. But your gut, I don't want to be just this kind of like, leaf blowing in the wind in terms of like, and now I feel this way, and now I feel this way. This gives you an appropriate framework to make sure that the gut is actually lining up with some of the things that we are deciding ahead of time. And what I mean by that is it's really nice to lay out in peacetime, what are the decisions you want to make in wartime? Because if it's just in wartime, we're going to get swayed and dissuaded by the urgency and the immediacy and the emotional reactions that come with a lot of decisions. So this framework is in place to help us. We have these two selves. We have a self one and a self two. Other people call it different things. You know, Freud called it the id, the ego, and the superego. He thought there was a third. But really simply, if we have this plan for our long-term self, which is, Patrick, this summer, what do you want your body to look like? And everyone's like, you know, this summer is the summer I'm going to have abs. I'm going to look great this summer and I'm going to have so much energy. It's cool. Like, okay, so we just backtrack a little bit and we go, okay, so to do that, you know, you have to exercise, you have to sleep, and you have to eat right. And then I go, okay, but Patrick, I have this piece of carrot cake and I know you love carrot cake. You go, I know I said I want to look good in abs and a bathing suit, but carrot cake's amazing. I'm going to have, when it's in front of us, right in front of us, that's wartime, we might make the wrong decisions and go for the carrot cake. So this is a framework to make sure that our actions line up with our visions and values. That's what the 5 Ps are in place for. The gut is there probably, if you get through this thing, you still don't know what to do. You could sit there and kind of go, okay, like my gut says that this is the right thing. I think I should do this. But this is, both of these are not what most people do, which is, let's create the pros and cons list. Let's go talk to a mentor. Let's go do a survey. Let's go and research this. This is in opposition to those decision-making tools. What we're saying here is this is the introspective way to make decisions rather than the external way. You could use the 5 P framework or your gut. They're both tools to get it from an internal perspective.
Okay, so I listed out the 5 Ps here. I put them in a particular order, but I want to make sure we get the order right before we start kind of chipping away at each one of these. So again, purpose, priorities, principles, perspective, and perseverance. That's not, I believe that wasn't the order that we did them originally, but is that the right order? Or how would you begin to sort through each one of these in maybe an order of like, I don't know if I want to call it like importance first, but of like, here's where to start.
Yep.
Which of the P's is that?
So this is where, you know, like most of our conversations, has evolved. When we first laid this out, this was not hierarchical. It wasn't even ordered at all. It was slices of a pie. And what we said was you needed all the slices of the pie in order to make the right decisions. I think this has since evolved. And I do think it is, while not necessarily hierarchical, it is sequential. And we're not going to be able to do the last ones meaningfully unless we do the first ones. And that order now, which might not be in line with what most people would kind of guess, is perspective, purpose, priorities, principles, and perseverance.
Okay. Perspective first then.
Yes.
Let's go. Yeah. Cause that's actually obviously, cause I didn't put it there. That's a surprise to me. So let's go with it. Let's start there. And why is that first, or why is that first in the sequence?
Yeah. So maybe this is also a little bit of an evolution in terms of what we originally meant by perspective. I think we used perspective last time more of a checks and balances. Like, will you be happy with these decisions after you make them, you know, in hindsight with enough perspective? This now is the first, this has become a lot more actionable than it has been theoretical. And the actionable is step 1 is to perform an exercise. And that is a exercise in perspective. And the exercise is the deathbed exercise, which we've talked about a fair amount on this show, which is when you are laying on your deathbed and you look back on your life, what are the things that you're going to be so proud of and glad that you did? What are the decisions that you made that you are ultimately so grateful for that that's the direction your life went in? Or, said another way, is what do you wish you had done? So this is, you know, this is a big thing that if you study human behavior and psychology and the fulfillment frameworks, it's a really great question where they go around and they ask really successful people and people that struggle through life, you know, that are in their late 90s or centenarians, and they ask them, you know, what are the things that you wish you had done, or people that are dying of cancer or other things that people are literally on their deathbed, they say, what do you think of your life? What are the things that were meaningful and that you think were, and what are the things that weren't meaningful? And this is the exercise. Other way to say is people have, called it the eulogy exercise, where you write your own eulogy. And the idea is, let's take the greatest level of perspective that we possibly can, that we know of. Yes, there's more, which is like the God view. And if you were outside the universe, but we don't know that. The thing that we know is this lifetime. When this lifetime comes to an end and we have all the possible perspective that we can possibly garner, what is the things that we're going to look back and say, yes, that's what I want. That's the thing. So the first one is, and that's why this is first, is the perspective is a perspective exercise. Can we go and do that thing and figure out what is this? And the next one I want to is, after you think about that, is like, the next thing is, what do I want out of my life? That's the question we should be asking, is with enough perspective, looking back, what is this life thing that I wanted to have happen here? Call it meaning of life. What do you believe the meaning of life is? Well, if you ask a 3-year-old, they're going to say it's, candy and, Paw Patrol, it's like,
yep.
Which is like, that's why we want to go zoom out. It's not, because it's not, what do you think it is as a 22-year-old or a 42-year-old? It's, what do you believe you will be saying when you're at the end? And that's really important. So with that, we can get to that next level, which is, what do you believe the purpose of life is? Mm-hmm. Big high level question. What do we think that is? And then from there, once we identify your purpose, what do we think that we want to lean into? Then from there, we go to our priorities. What are the things that we feel like are important in order to build towards that life of value? Then from there, we build in some principles, some actually things that are the bright lines that steer us in the right direction. When we want to sway, when we want to go the other way, we have these principles, these guideposts to keep us, these guardrails to keep us on track. And then from there, we need the perseverance, because it's hard. Like, living a life of ultimate meaning and purpose in line with your vision and values is challenging. It's way easier to get swayed by emotions, popular opinion, or something else than what's truly intrinsically important to you. So that's how these things line up now.
Love that. Okay. So great high level sense of it. I would love to dive in a little bit more into the actionable side of things, in terms of, how do you actually put this into practice? Not once, because I think once is easy. Like, somebody can sit down and they can answer, they can do the deathbed exercise and they can come up with 2 or 3 things that, like, this is my purpose and here are my priorities, here are my principles. And so obviously that's valuable, and that needs to be there. But what I think, when I think about myself and in these conversations that we've had, the hard part, and it's right there, it's the last one, is perseverance. That's ultimately the hard part, because life is messy and it gets hard and we forget. Yeah. We don't review. We think about our priorities or our purpose once, and then maybe we think about it again the next year. And then maybe again, if somebody reminds us of it. So I guess my question, all of that, is say, how do we start to turn this into something that we can action, not once, but every single day? Because ultimately, if we can't do it every single day, it's like getting to the gym it doesn't matter if you get to the gym once a month. I mean, I guess it matters, but it's not going to get you where you want it to get you, versus getting to the gym 5 to 6 times a week. And so how do we take the 5 P's of decision-making and look at it and act as though it is our training for the life we're trying to build? Yeah. And embedded in that is, how do we make sure we do it, the prescription, every single day? Because that ultimately is where we fall apart, is not, I don't think, the original conception of it. It's Tuesday, I didn't sleep enough, the kid's crying, I just got an email that made me upset, and now what? Yeah. I'm not thinking about the 5 P's of decision making. I'm straight back to my lizard brain, and I'm just like reaction mode all day long. So how do we save ourselves from that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the best way to do this is to I'll walk you through the process that I go through. So
cool.
Deathbed exercise. When I do that, I think back and I think of what do I want? And what I want is a well-lived life full of purpose, passion, balance, and poise. There's a bunch more P's in there. I think I like P's. That's weird.
You do. You've evolved to P's. Used to be L's. Used to be the 5 L's.
Well, that's it. That fits in this. That fits here as well. Okay. But I believe that's my purpose. And if I think about like, okay, but why is that well, it's because like, I believe a well-lived life. I think what is the purpose of life? I think the purpose of life is to live your life. Live it to the fullest. How do I believe I can live my life to the fullest? Well, if I have my life full of purpose and passion and, balance, meaning I'm not over-indexing towards anything, and poise, meaning I'm not getting rattled and distracted, I think that if I got to my deathbed and said my life was full of those things, I really do feel like confident with as much knowledge as I have right now that that's what I should be chasing. Okay. From there, where do we break that down? Well, I want a life of balance. So what is balance? Like, okay, balance is a few things. Balance is the L's. So let's break this down. What do I think is important? Like from that, I want balance. I want balance across. For me, it's the 4 L's. It's live, love, lead, and learn. It took me a while to kind of navigate towards those things. It wasn't, just popped up. And I reshaped and kind of worked them. But to me, when I think about the things that really set me on fire, that if I was to look back and go, was the last 3-4 years meaningful to me? If I get distracted, why am I getting distracted? It's because they either have or they're missing those 4 components. So when we get towards that, live, love, lead, and learn, the other kind of framework in there is like live. Live is having experiences and health. Love is connecting with the people that are important to me. Lead is important to me. This is leading for me. This is like, like trying to impact other people is what I mean by lead. And I find it very fulfilling. And then the last one is learn. If I'm not learning, and I've had periods of time where I'm not, I feel stagnant. I want to grow. I want to evolve. I want to become a better version of myself. So I want those things. So from there, so now we have our values. Those are my values: live, love, lead, and learn. Now that we have those things, what are some principles that we can put in place for each of those? Let's take the live one, health. Okay, so one of those things is go to the gym 5 or 6 days a week. Like that's one of those. Great. Okay, so now we have our bright line. Like here is the thing. So as you said, you wake up Tuesday morning, you got a bunch of emails, kids crying, you don't want to go to the gym. You go, no, you decided a long time ago that this was a principle. This is who you are. You are the type of person. And if you want a fulfilled life full of joy, passion, balance, and poise, it matters that you go to the gym today. We're not getting swayed by the external environment. This is a thing that's intrinsically of value to you. So we have a way to kind of keep us on those guardrails. We said go to the gym 5 or 6 days a week. Now, if it's something different for somebody else, completely agree with it. The best thing for me is when I'm at CrossFit New England 6 days a week. It changes me on a biological, social, emotional, every level. So then from there, we get to our last one, which is perseverance. As you said, some days it's hard. Like that's the perseverance part. Some days it's hard and you have to lean on, you go back up the ladder. The other way to think of this is 10,000 foot view. Okay. With enough perspective, you're trying to, with a 10, zooming way out. What do you want your life to look like? Really high level. Passion, purpose, balance, and poise. Cool. Okay, from there, we zoom in a little bit. From a 1,000 foot view, you're not in an airplane, you're not at the top of the mountain, you're now moving down closer. From a 1,000 foot view, from maybe a really tall skyscraper. I don't even know how tall skyscraper. I mean, it's really, really tall. Okay, whatever it is. From there, we want to zoom in a little bit, and what's the things that are important to you? What are those? Well, to me, it's live, love, lead, and learn. Okay, cool. Now we zoom in more, and now we're at the 100-foot level, so we can see things on the ground. Cool. What are the principles? Well, I'm going to go to the gym 5 or 6 days a week. Great.
Mm-hmm.
Now on the ground, doing the groundwork, persevere. Now actually do it. Take the steps. You're on the ground. Walk. Do the thing. That's how we do this. Now, how do we do this? As you said, I might explore this once a year, and then I kind of lose sight in the email and the crying kid. The way for me, and I know this is different for everybody, and everyone has to figure out how to do this the right way, but something that I'm really excited and I've talked to you about is bringing this to life for everyone is this. I call it tracking. I track it.
Mm-hmm.
I track to make sure I'm on track. I think of my life the way I would a business. If you want your business to be successful, you need to start off with, what's the vision? What is this thing you want to create? With enough perspective and enough, cool. What are your core values? What are your quarterly KPIs and objectives? And then are you doing that on a daily basis? And then you have to have accountability. You have to have accountability. You have to check in to make sure those things are happening. Without it, you're a leaf blowing in the wind. And the market forces, the competitive nature, customer satisfaction, or anything else is going to steer you in certain directions instead of this thing that you decided in peacetime of the way you were going to act in wartime, meaning crying kid and answering those angry emails. So the way that I actually do this is working back through it on a yearly basis and a quarterly basis. I review this whole thing and I go, does this still feel right? And it changes. It does. In terms of that deathbed perspective, is there something better I could put there as what I feel like the meaning of life is? And every year or so that the words change, the big thing kind of stays the same, but it's this life of fulfillment, living life to its fullest. And then from there, do these values still resonate? Is it still live, love, lead, learn? It's okay if they change. Completely, it's okay to change. If you have the same values, as I said before, at 55 as you did at 25, as you did at 5, we're probably not picking things up as they're being laid down in front of us. Right. So it's okay for what you feel is important in your life to change. That's okay. I like that. Iterate, build, measure, learn, and change. Iterate. Okay, from there, those might change every quarter or so. I'm not every day reanalyzing these things, but on a quarterly basis, certainly a yearly basis. And you've seen the way I do this. This is actually I used to do it digitally. Now I do it analog in a notebook. And then from there, I go from those values. What are the 3 to 5 principles? So for love, I'm going to be home by 6 o'clock every night. I'm going to do a family dinner. I'm going to call mom and dad. I'm going to play with the littles. I'm going to connect with a friend or my brothers. There's my 5. And am I doing that now? We go to the bottom one. Am I doing that on a daily basis? I'm tracking it, holding myself accountable. And this is actually what's going to steer me in the direction to create alignment with my actions and my vision and values, instead of letting self one steer the ship, which is email crying kid, 7:30 in the morning. I'm not going to the gym today.
Yep.
No, that's the immediacy thing. We can't let, and I was on the carrot cake. Oh, of course I'm going to take the carrot cake. No, you said ahead of time, you wanted this and you boiled it down from 10,000 foot down to that moment where you go, maybe it's for the live, some things are health. It's like health could be no sugar, no sweets, no alcohol, eat vegetables at every meal, go to the gym, go for a walk, meditate, do yoga. What is the actionables? It's all malleable and you can change those every single week or month if you wanted to. But the The power is the alignment. The power is the action. What we have laid out before for one of our other frameworks is awareness, intention, action. You need all three of those. The awareness at a really high level, deathbed, 10,000 foot view. What do I think a meaningful life looks like? Cool. From there, intention. What do I think I need to do? I need to go to the gym. I need to do yoga. I need to call my mom. I need to be home by 6 o'clock, family dinners. Cool. That's my goals. That's the thing I'm setting up. And then action. Did you do it? Perseverance is, did you do it when it's hard?
Mm-hmm. Last thing I want to talk to you about this, and a good hint at further conversations that we'll have when we break down those frameworks. But I would love to know from you what you think about the idea of kind of editing our lives in alignment with these kinds of things. And by that, I mean taking away the things that are getting in our way, things that we're doing because we thought like, oh, maybe I should take that job because it pays a little bit more and that. But ultimately, when we start doing these exercises, we're like, that is really misaligned with this purpose or the perspective that I'm coming away with this particular exercise. So just how do you think, or how have you experienced the editing process to make sure that we're getting rid of the things that aren't in alignment so that we have room for the things that are? Because ultimately we're all working with the same set of constraints here. We've got 24 hours. We've got we've got so much attention. We've got so much energy and effort that we can spend in building a life like this. So how do you navigate okay, we've done this exercise and shoot, I'm really good over here. I'm happy there, but man, over here, I'm a mess. How do you start to, again, I like the term editing, but maybe use another one if you've got it. How do you start to edit yourself, your life, so that you've got less of the misalignment and you've at least got more room for the things that are aligned?
This practice, that is what this practice is in place to help accomplish, both going forward, but also where we are presently. What are the decisions we made in the past that are not congruent with what we are saying? So you might be saying, I love the saying of like, people say they have certain values. And my answer to, if I want to really see someone's actual values, it's like, show me your calendar. Like, show me like what you've been doing. Like your actions are your values. So you say that family is your first priority. Well, let's dig into your daily calendar. So you're up at 4:30, you're out to the gym before work, you do the 5 a.m. class. From there, you go to work, you're at work at 7 o'clock, and you are stay at work until 7 p.m., commute the 45 minutes home, you're home at 7:45, miss dinner, quickly read a story to your kids and then kiss them goodnight. And then that's your 5 days a week. I don't care what you're doing on the weekends. Family is not your top priority. So what this allows you to do is exactly what you're saying, is not only forward, making sure that I'm going to line up my actions going forward, that they're in alignment with what's truly important to me, but retroactively, we can take a deep dive into what we are doing right now. And yes, it helps with the really small micro ones in terms of like, did I call my mom? Am I home at 6 o'clock? But recognize that those are the things that, like, if I don't have the time to call my mom, if I don't have the time to work out, if I don't have the time to do these things that I'm saying are, then also you got to go like, whoa, do I need like a wholesale shift in one of these categories? Because I'm saying that this is a balanced life. I'm saying that this is what it looks like, but I'm really over-indexed into this. I'm training for an Ironman, and I just kind of like, that just kind of spun up on itself. And I'm spending 25 hours a week on the road and in the pool and on my bike. And I realize now, like, this is why maybe I don't have the time to dig into my career. This is the time I don't have the time to spend with my kids. This is the time I don't have to do this. And it could be any one of these things. I don't want to overlay the family thing, but maybe you're spending too much time with your family. You want to balance life, and you're like, I just can't, I don't have time to start that blog. I don't have time to write that book. I don't have time to start that side hustle. When you realize, well, if you really want this balanced life, this is one of the ways to achieve that. And you start to realize, exactly to your point, where are you over indexing? And again, the reason that this is a meaningful conversation for us is because we believe that balance is an integral part of a full life. That's at odds with what social media is going to tell you, which is go all in, do the moonshot, earn $100 million, win the championship, do this thing. Because the reason for that is what we believe is when you look back on your life, it's going to be more about the relationships and the fulfillment and the actual journey along the way than it is the accolades, awards, or anything else.
We're going to leave it there. That was fun. That, again, is the first of a handful of conversations that we'll have over the next few months, maybe even over the next year, because we do have we do have a good number of frameworks. So excited to continue to dive back into them with you. We're going to do a shout out and a cool down here in just a minute. But first, quick word of thanks to a few more sponsors brought to you this week by Element. Are you looking for a way to stay hydrated without the sugar and questionable ingredients found in popular sports drinks? Look no further than Element, the zero sugar electrolyte drink that's taking the health and fitness world by storm. Visit drinkelement.com/excellence to learn more about why that is and to try Element for yourself. Element is not your average electrolyte drink. It's formulated based on the growing body of research that reveals optimal health occurs at sodium levels 2 to 3 times higher than government recommendations. Each stick pack of Element delivers a meaningful dose of electrolytes without any sugar, artificial colors, or dodgy ingredients. Whether you're an athlete or on a special diet like keto or paleo, or simply looking to improve your hydration, Element is the perfect choice. They are the exclusive hydration partner to Team USA Weightlifting and many Olympic athletes, professional athletes from the NFL, NBA, and NHL, including 6-time CrossFit Games winner Tia Claire Toomey and NBA All-Star Bradley Beal. Trust Element for their hydration needs. Even Navy SEAL teams, FBI sniper teams, and the Marines rely on Element to stay at their best. But it's not just for elite athletes. Element is for everyday health enthusiasts, busy moms, and anyone who wants a delicious, no-sugar margarita or mocktail. And they now have a hot version. The new Element Chocolate Medley is designed to be enjoyed hot during these cold months, making it the perfect winter beverage to warm you up after a day of outdoor activities. If you're ready to take your hydration to the next level, visit drinkelement.com/excellence. That's LMNT, the letters, to learn more and try Element for yourself. And here's an exclusive offer for you. Receive a free Element sample pack with any order when you purchase through our custom URL. Again, drinkelement.com/excellence to claim that offer today. We have a podcast review for a shout out. Shout out is just when we take a moment to read out a review or a note that someone has sent Ben or I as a way of saying thank you for the wonderful notes that you do send us. If you have not yet left us a review, it is awfully helpful. So thank you in advance. Here's what this one says. Ben and Patrick, I've been listening to your podcast every week for 4 years. I listen to each episode as soon as it's released. There are really no adequate words to express how grateful I am for the change that your podcast has brought to my life. I'm currently reading the book, The Art of Living, and in it, he talks about the belief that we live on forever through the impact that we've had on others' lives. Your impact is generational. I have 3 kids and know that the life that I'm living today is better, not only for me, but for them as well, and will shape their lives just as much as it shaped mine. I'm a better person because of the inspiration and tools that you've given me. Thank you for the time that you put into the content that you create and the genuine heart that's behind it. You guys are absolutely incredible. I'm forever grateful.
I'm reading The Art of Living as well right now. That's amazing.
I was just going to say that there's a book recommendation in there. So I've never heard of that book other than obviously having read that.
It was handed to me by one of our members that I respect a lot. So it's hard not to read those books.
There you go. Yeah. Embedded in that review is a book recommendation.
That's wild because I'm literally reading it right now. That's so funny.
Amazing. Cool. I look forward to hearing about it. I want you to get through it. All right. We're going to do a cool down. We're just going to do a Hopper Talk. Hopper Talk is just when I take a random question that I found on the internet and we take 5 or 6 minutes to talk through it. We've got today this question. What activity or hobby makes you lose track of time?
Okay. So first? Yeah, I'll go first. I think this is a cool question because it's a clue to what leads to a flow state. Right. So that's what it's one of the really key indicators of you are doing something that you are in line with what we just talked about. This is like something that's really meaningful and enjoyable for you. The biggest and most obvious one, because I do it every day, is coaching my class at the gym. Like it's what's really why I love it. And it's obviously because I lose track of time and it just goes by like that. Another one is actually this podcast. Another one is when I do public speaking. Like those things, like the public speaking one might be a little bit different because that might be like an adrenaline nerves thing, but they're probably all these. But here's what's really wild too is years ago, even before Whoop, there was these guys that were beta testing a wearable that would test your stress levels, your HRV. Yeah. It was pre-Whoop, and it was we've had train the amazing athletes that I have. Everyone wants to get these things in front of you, and I wore one for like 3 days. And I think we've talked about this before, but it measured your stress and how much you were experiencing. And at the time, I had young kids, and my most stressful time of the day, more than like running meetings or anything else, getting in front of a camera, the most stressful time in my day, hard conversations, was putting my toddlers and infants to bed at night. That's when the highest stress was. It was like, that was so eye-opening. Because it was like this thing of like, if anything goes wrong, like
my whole night is shot.
Oh my God, right? It's like, I'm going to read the book, but I'm walking on eggshells. I have no freaking clue what I'm doing, but I know what this looks like when it goes wrong. So that's the one side. The other side was, when was the lowest, during the day, what was the lowest amount, the period of time that I had the lowest amount of stress? And it was when I was coaching classes. When I was coaching classes, it was basically like, it was just like, there was like this like nothingness, which is like this
very Zen-like,
very Zen-like experience. And that was, I had young kids. So that was 9 years ago, 8 years ago, but it's still very much the case today. There's obviously other ones which are amazing, which is like when you're skiing in powder or something like that. That's just like, you're like, oh my God, I can't believe it's already 3:00 in the afternoon. Like, where'd the day go and stuff. There is another one, which is kind of the opposite end of that spectrum. And it is a lot of times during times of crisis. I'm going to say crisis in big air quotes, because it's not a true crisis, but like in business, where your adrenaline is ramping and you're going and you're trying to solve. Ideas like COVID hits, you have a gym that is a service business that people participate in real life. And really quickly after that, short shutdown that they extended it, like, if we don't do something, this business is going to go away. I can remember coming in and just like pounding away. And, or entrepreneurship in the very beginning stages where it's like, you forget to eat. And I'm kind of going through this again right now, where like, you're just so go mode. Like there's such like this level of importance mixed with urgency in the daily activities that while it's not enjoyable, you lose track of time. And, it happens a lot recently for me, where, I kind of poked my head up, and yesterday I had lunch at 4:15. It was like, oh my God, I haven't eaten yet at all. And you're not even hungry. And it's like, okay, I just think I need to do something. I'd say those things. It's like the true joy or whatever the opposite of that spectrum is that causes me to kind of like, just like, you're fully in the moment. Maybe it's adrenaline.
Yep. That's probably it. I love that you called out the flow, because that's actually what I thought about with this question. It's like, that is a sign of being in a flow state, which again is a good sign of that you're doing something that is aligned with who you are, what you should be doing. And so I don't think, my answers, I don't think will surprise anybody. Writing. And the one place I would say, and I was thinking about this with this question, is being in a movie theater, watching a film. I don't know that there's a place that I consistently lose track of time than in a movie theater. Not watching a movie at home, too many distractions at home, even if kids are asleep and I'm the only one in the house. But in a movie theater where literally like everything's off, nobody's talking, at least not many people are talking, and you're sort of there in a dark room, engaged in a story. is probably like my favorite place in the world.
Wow. Yeah.
And it has been for a long, long time. And the really cool thing, and I was starting to think about this because the boys are old enough to actually go to a movie theater. We just did this a few days ago. So now I'm watching kids movies, but still fun. I'll still take it. But like growing up, and especially in college and after college, being in a movie theater was like a sanctuary to me. And so when I'm really like, if I were to like be really like, what activity or hobby makes me lose track of time, every single time it's watching a movie in a movie theater without question.
You know what's funny about that is like when I say mine, like I'm like, skiing in powder. It's like, well, of course that's everybody. And I realize like when you say that, it's probably what your thing as well, but it's not. Like I do not lose track of time when I'm in a movie theater, especially watching a kid's movie. I'm like,
yep.
I'm either trying to stay awake or I'm looking at the clock. Yeah. So that's amazing. That's really cool though. That's really good level of understanding and awareness of what that means to you.
Yeah. My friend, that was fun. We're going to get out of here. There's a little bit of a longer episode, but that was really fun. I'm really excited to continue to revisit these frameworks with you over the next couple months. One more reminder, www.chasingexcellence.email. Get on the free newsletter. We'll send out a link to get your questions into a future episode, or consider jumping into the upgraded membership and help us build that so that it is wildly valuable, not only to us, but of course to you as well. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your ratings and your reviews. Ben and I will be back next week for another episode of Chasing Excellence.